Hey guys, this is John Corabi from the Daisies, and you are listening to Backstage Access, where the real show begins. So turn it up.
You're choking on the words you want to say in this prison, so you'll stay.
Hey, this is Chris with Backstage Access, and we are here today with none other than John Corabi from the Daisies. Welcome, John.
How are you doing today?
I'm okay, just getting buckled down here for the, yesterday I did interviews from 10 in the morning till 8 last night. And I've got another full day ahead of me today, so just buckling in, made my coffee, I'm ready to chat.
Okay, so great. Let's talk about the new record, Burn It Down. Tell us a little bit about, the overall sound of this record.
All right, the overall sound. How would I describe it?
Yeah.
I just, honestly, I would just call it a no-frills, straight-ahead, old-school rock and roll record. It's, at times it's very reminiscent of, I think we kind of got, in some way, we got a little heavier, but not heavy. It's more like old-school Sabbath heavy, Zeppelin heavy, but it's no frills. It's just, to me, it's just no straight ahead rock and roll.
Awesome. And I really like the choice of Burn It Down as the title. Was there any significance to choosing that song as the album title?
Well, to be honest with you, it literally came down between, if memory serves me correctly, it came down between Burn It Down and Rise Up. And I just think the meaning, the lyrically, it was a little more relevant, the lyrics and stuff, to Burn It Down, so, and across the board, like the band liked it, management liked it, kind of ran it by a record label, they loved it, so that's what we went with. We went with Burn It Down.
Awesome. Now, how does the writing process work for this record and, for the band in general?
Every record is the same.
Okay.
Nobody writes a full song and brings it in. We basically, management will come to us and say, hey, we're going to do a record from this time to this time. Start getting your ideas together. And everybody just goes home and they start working on riffs, or chord progression or something that we think is cool, and we'll put it on our phones or our computer. And then we just go in for the writing process. We'll usually write for about 10 days. And then we just start showing each other the ideas, and then they're all developed together as a band.
Okay.
So it's definitely a band collaborating thing. And now this last one that we did, we actually had Marty Fredrickson involved in the writing process right from the beginning.
Okay.
And so we all went to New York and we sat down in a room for about 9-10 days, and we just started showing each other riffs, and we started mapping out basically the record. And I think when we were done, we had about 22 ideas.
Okay.
And, just kind of mapped it out. And then we sat down and we talked as a band, which ones we felt were, the 12 best, 13 best, whatever. And then we went down to Nashville and we just started recording.
Okay.
But it's all done together.
Awesome. And you mentioned Marty was involved in the writing process as well this time, and also, produced the album. So how does he help kind of bring out, the best in the band?
Marty's funny, man. He's a great producer. I think that's kind of been established, but the thing that is awesome about Marty is he's not just a producer. He's a performer. He's actually Steven Tyler's guitar player in Steven's solo band. And then he's also an amazing songwriter, and he's written with so many great artists. You know, I know a lot of people are shocked when I tell them this, but Marty actually co-wrote Jaded with Steven Tyler.
Okay.
So it's actually good, you know, when we're coming up with ideas, you know, Marty can take a step back, and he can listen to things as a songwriter as well.
Sure.
And go, you know what, guys, I think this is a really great idea, but I think you're getting a little self-indulgent in the middle. Let's just tighten it up. Cut this part out. Cut that, you know, boom, or add this part. It's lacking. You know what I mean? And then he'll sit down with us, if need be, and help us come up with that part that we're lacking. You know what I mean?
Sure.
So it's really kind of cool. Like, the five of us will work on something together, and then we'll show it to Marty, and then it's kind of like, not only from a production point of view, he's already hearing sounds and how he wants things to, you know, sound, but then it's also good having a fresh set of eyes and ears that can come in and go, this is a great idea, this one not so much, I like this one better. Okay, cool, awesome. And he's usually right. You know what I mean? So, you know, we've actually, you know, we've done, you know, Make Some Noise with Marty. We've done this record with Marty. And I think that we've kind of found our, you know, I've said this a million times, but if you go back historically and look at some of these amazing bands in the past, you know, they've all had their, you know, like the Beatles had George Martin. And, you know, George Martin, like, I just recently saw a video of Paul McCartney that goes in, hey, I wrote this song, and he's playing the song on acoustic guitar, but it was George Martin that actually came in and said, I think this is an amazing song. What if we did it with no instruments, only strings? It'll give it, like, even more of a somber sound to it. And, you know, so I think we've kind of found our Mutt Lange or our Jack Douglas or our, you know, Bruce Fairbairn, you know, Ted Temple, whatever. You know, we
Sure.
found the guy that we're all comfortable working with, and he's like part of the team. He's like our secret weapon. You know what I mean?
Very nice. Now, there's a really cool cover of the Rolling Stones song Bitch on this record. How did you come about choosing that particular song to include on this album? And was it intimidating at all to kind of redo such a classic?
No, honestly, like, you know, I think the thing, first of all, the thing with the Daisies is we intentionally do, like, 2 cover songs every record that
Right.
we do. And it's kind of our tip of the hat to all of the guys that we grew up listening to. You know, since I've been in the band, the first record we did Midnight Moses and Evil. And then the second record we did Join Together, Creedence Clearwater, Fortunate Son. And, you know, like I said, it's a tip of the hat. But in some weird way, we've kind of realized that there's a huge disconnect with a lot of people when it comes to music. And a lot of people had never even heard of Alex Harvey. There's some people that didn't realize that Join Together wasn't written by the band. It was a Who song. Didn't know it. And so in some weird way, we kind of feel like I hate to use the word educating, but we're just going, hey man, you got to check this riff out by this band or, you know, whatever. And oddly enough, even with Bitch, I mean, Rolling Stones, who doesn't know the Rolling Stones or the Beatles? Right. There's a ton of people that didn't realize that that's a Rolling Stones song. I basically now, when we do the show live, as we're going into the intro of the song, I kind of said, you know, even our management talked about it. He goes, man, it blows me away that people don't know that that's a Rolling Stones song.
Right.
So now I announce it. I go, we're doing a song about one of the greatest rock bands ever. This is one of our favorite songs. It's called Bitch. And then we go into the song. And it's just amazing to me about that disconnect. But the reason why we did, backing up and now answering your question, I'm sorry.
That's okay.
We did Bitch. I mean, there's a million Stones songs we could have done.
Right.
But we did Bitch because once we got into it and Doug put his stank on it and we jammed it a few times, that was the one because of the riff in the song. The riff is like the main part of the song. It kind of lent itself to the rest of our record. I think a lot of the stuff on our record is very riff-oriented, and it just fit. It just worked.
Nice. Now, you mentioned that, you have to introduce it now when you're out on tour. So how has the tour been going so far?
Insane. When we rehearsed for about 10 days in New York, and then we flew over to Scotland, and we had about 2 or 3 more days of rehearsals over there, because we shipped our gear over, so we wanted to make sure that all the tubes in the amps didn't break on the way. So,
sure.
We did a couple of rehearsals there, and our management came in and said, well, lads, just a little good news. Every show in the UK is completely sold out. And then we started to get word from Europe that a majority of the shows in Europe were sold out as well. So it's been insane. The record came out, and in about a week or two into, because we were already on tour, about a week or two in, management told us that we had actually charted in like 30 different countries around the world, and the record was still going strong. So we're more than happy, incredibly pleased. It's funny, like you go into, after you finish the record, you sit down and you listen to it in its entirety, and you go, yep, this is the one, man. This is the one that's going to put us over the top. It's going to put us over the top. This is the one that's going to do it. Da-da-da-da. But you're still kind of surprised when you start getting all this positive reaction. You know what I mean? Like, wow, everybody digs it. So far the reviews have been great. It's charting. It's even charting here in America, which we're blown away by. We actually just found out a couple days ago that we're in the, we've actually cracked the top 40 active rock radio list, which I believe is the first time for the band. So
nice.
We're just like, this is awesome. It's killer. It's definitely, everything is growing at a nice pace, and we couldn't be happier.
And you'll be back in the States touring later this summer, right?
Yep, I believe we start August. I want to say like the 15th or 16th, and it's a month. We're doing a month. We're doing about 20, 25 shows, and we're gonna, we're just trying to crack America a little bit at a time. You know what I mean? So
sure.
we're gonna be out for about a month in August and September.
Awesome. And now you've been busy so far, obviously, with the Dead Daisies, but you've also had your own solo album that came out earlier this year, Live 94, One Night in Nashville. How did that whole album come about? What's the story behind that?
Well, it was weird. It actually, I didn't really want to do it, to be honest with you. I didn't want to start the whole process, but my manager at the time came to me, and he was like, Motley's doing their farewell tour. They're probably not going to do any of the material from that record. It's the 20th anniversary, which I had no idea. This was like 2014. And he was like, man, you know what? Why don't you talk to the guys in your band, and why don't you do that record from top to bottom, man? Just go out and do a little run and see how it goes. And as soon as I started doing it, and it started getting out there that I was doing it, I started getting calls from Europe and Australia and Japan hey, why don't you come do it here as well? But then, it started to get into 2015, and I'm like, well, it's not 20 years now. It's like 21. It's like not that big a deal, whatever. And it was weird. I started looking at the financial part of it, like what it was going to take for me to take, like, 6 or 7 guys, crew guys in the band, and looking at what it was going to cost and take to get the band over to places like Australia and Europe.
Right.
You've got, round trip airline, everybody needs a salary, and then, hotel rooms and feeding everybody. And then in some places, the visas, which are incredibly expensive. And I'm like, man, I don't know if I can afford to do this.
Right.
So I just said, you know what? I'm done with it. I don't want to, for lack of a better term, I don't want to ride my time in Motley. I don't want to ride their coattails. So I'm done doing this. Let's just record one of the shows. And we talked to Michael Wagner and asked him to mix it. And I just turned it into my record label. I said, would you guys want to put this out as, and they listened to it and they're like, dude, this is great. Yeah, let's do it. I kind of sat on it for a couple of years because every time I was going to put my record out, it kind of was lining up with a Daisies release. So this year, I finally said, all right, I've got off January, February, March. Daisies are coming out in April. It's got to be out in January, or let's just scrap it again this year. So we put it out, and again, that one, I'm surprised, but that one jumped onto some of the charts here in America as well, and it's been going great.
Now, I know that Mick Mars stated that, that's his favorite Motley Crue album is the one that you are a part of. And there was talk about the possibility of you working with Mick after Motley retired. Has anything ever happened with that project?
I sang a couple of tracks for Mick.
Okay.
Whether he's going to use them or not, I don't know. The biggest problem with Mick and I was I think that this record is so important for him. He's the only guy in Motley that hasn't released any outside music other than Motley. And to be honest with you, between the Dead Daisies and then my solo stuff and shows that I'm doing, I just didn't know if I was going to have the kind of time that I would need to dedicate to Mick.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And we talked about it, and he really wanted to get started and get going and get out on the road and, do all this stuff. And I kind of had a heart-to-heart with him, and I said, Mick, honestly, I would love to do this with you. I just don't know at this point if I have that kind of time. And he totally understood, and not to put a financial thing on it, but I would have literally had to, it would have taken, 6 months to a year to just focus on nothing but me and Mick getting into a room, writing, recording the stuff, getting it to where we liked it, giving it to a label, getting it out there, promoting it. And Mick's fine, which, he's got his Motley money, but I'm like, I need to work, you know what I mean? And,
sure.
and so he totally understood. Like I said, we had a very long talk about it. And, from what I hear, he's got I don't want to say anything, but I know who he's working with here in Nashville.
Okay.
And he's got a great singer-songwriter working with him. And I'm as excited as everybody else to hear what he comes up with. I can't wait to hear it. You know what I mean? And I hope it winds up being a massive success for him. And, he can go out and play again. That's all he wants to do is just get out and rock out. You know what I mean? So
absolutely.
We'll see.
We're all going to look forward to that too in the near future, hopefully. Now,
Yeah, it'll be cool.
everyone in your band, though, is, so talented and came from so many other successful and talented bands on their own. Has it been difficult at all to manage everybody's different personalities and styles, or did everyone in the Dead Daisies kind of click right from the start?
It wasn't hard. I mean, if I said to you that we never have disagreements, I'd be lying through my teeth.
Well, sure.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But, I think the one thing that the Daisies has, that we didn't have when we were younger is we've gotten older and we've gotten wiser, and we've also figured out how to communicate with each other. So it is what it is. You know what I mean?
Right.
It wasn't difficult at all. You know what I mean? We all kind of realize that, especially in this day and age, for a band with members like, all the guys that are in this band, we know, how much the music industry has changed. And we also don't take for granted that each one of us individually has been doing this successfully and supporting our families for the last 30 years. And not to sound like a cliche, but that's kind of a gift.
Sure, absolutely.
So we don't want to, I'm not going to sit here and blow it because I want to walk in and it's like, it's got to be my way or no way. We've all kind of learned how to give and take and know when to let go. As Kenny Rogers said, know when to hold them, know when to fold them.
Well, that's awesome. The new record is fantastic, and I'm sure the tour is just going to be out of this world, and hopefully we'll get a chance to catch you when you make it to the States this time around.
Well, I hope so, too. And as my dad used to say, from your mouth to God's ears.
Thank you so much, John, for chatting with us today.
No worries, man.